Let's continue here on Box to Row with the Radio Boss. We got a special guest on the line. As a matter of fact, so my favorite Christmas melody airs Sunday, 8 p.m., 7 Central on Lifetime. Maya, and I'll tell you what, Maya's done so much in her career. She's a Grammy Award winner. She's sold millions and millions of albums. She is on a tour. I believe we'll talk more about that with her in terms of a tour, but she's getting it done. The one and only Maya joins us here on Radio Boss. Maya, welcome back to the program.
How are you? Happy holidays.
Yes, to you as well. So how was Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was beautiful. I was on a plane for half of the day, but I spent time with family and friends. We played football outside, basketball, dodgeball, jump rope, double dutch. We had a childhood type of day. It was really nice and refreshing.
So are you a big sports fan?
I love boxing. That's my number one sport. Football would be next. That was very heavy in our household as far as what we tuned into. It was always the Dallas Cowboys versus the Redskins.
Right.
My uncle being for the Cowboys and my dad being hardcore for the Skins, and boxing. My dad was into boxing. He actually trained with or at the same facility in camp as Sugar Ray Leonard. So we would always go to all of the outdoor fights, the indoor fights, and my little brother ended up getting into boxing as well.
That's right. Of course, you're a huge Washingtonian. So what do you think? Like the Washington football team, 3 straight wins, winning a big game on Monday night. Our Washington football team is starting to come around.
Yes, I'm all for it. I always support the hometown, no matter what it is. Sports, music, the arts. It's a very, very rich place of culture and a melting pot as well. All of the embassies and international appeal. The restaurants are amazing. All of the museums. I love my city. And we refer to the cluster of DC, Maryland, Virginia as the DMV, but a lot of people think it's Department of Motor Vehicles. So I just want to clarify that.
No. Now, so you got to be clear when you talk about. So we're originally from Hyattsville, of course, the neighborhood of Lewisdale, and then Silver Spring. But so you got to be clear, and there's no diss to the rest of Maryland and Virginia, but you got to be clear when you're talking about Maryland. It's the Washington part of Maryland, Montgomery County, Prince George's County. If you want to say Howard, that's cool. And then in Virginia, you've got, Arlington, Alexandria, all that. But it's not, it's not all of Maryland and Virginia, as you know.
Of course.
Yeah.
They clown Waldorf a lot, saying, "Hey, I'm about to hop on a plane and take Waldorf Airlines Waldorf from DC." Baltimore is also its own culture with its own style of music, and it's about an hour away from the city of DC. So, it's all of those things, but it does not necessarily mean West Virginia or the Boondocks. To a lot of people, it's literally right at the border of Washington, D.C. that dominates, whether it's Virginia or Maryland.
No doubt. I mean, and West Virginia, there's, people are moving to West Virginia, driving into work in Washington and all that. What are some of your fondest memories of growing up in Washington?
In D.C., I grew up in both places. I grew up in D.C. and Maryland, Northeast to be exact, Capitol Hill area. And it was always rich in culture and music. Go-go music was my favorite to tune into. But my dad, he started in the music scene as well. And he would always do so many performances locally, indoors, outdoors. And I watched him and his band, just hustle. I watched him formulate his own record label and put out vinyl and get his records on the radio. So it was a big music experience for me coming up in DC and Maryland, but I got a little bit of the suburbs when we moved to PG County. Shout out to PG. And you have a nice balance of everything. You have the museums, you have politics, obviously. PG County is the richest Black county in the United States. So there's a lot of privilege there. You're exposed to so much culturally, education-wise. Materialism can be a part of that, but shedding a positive light on that, that it's possible to attain six-figure homes, $1 million homes plus, as an African American in that county, because you see so much diversity and possibility. So you have that. You also have the hood as well in DC. So it's a nice balance to understand what's really going on one side, but also what's attainable on the other side. And that can keep you focused, and making the right moves, because you do see it, and that's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's interesting because within the city, I mean, there's a lot of change within the city. It used to be called Chocolate City, not so much, certainly these days. And of course, I'm going to tell you, and this, like the go-go movement, right? So there was this big deal about I forget what the actual don't mute go-go or something like that, whatever the actual hashtag was. But now, especially in Washington, it has become mainstream to not just in the Black community, but to the community as a whole. I was listening to the sports station in Washington this morning, and the intro for the host's show was, I don't even know who the band was, but was a go-go band had done the intro for this person.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one of those things where the city is changing. I would say the city is changing as a whole. Your thoughts?
Well, gentrification is real. That's a real thing in many different cities. And it's all about money at the end of the day. Politics probably plays a part in that, and whoever makes the laws. And it's awful to see, because people are pushed out of their homes, but it happens everywhere, not just this country, but we see it a lot. And, cities become, what's the proper and politically correct way to say this? A lot of the old culture is lost, and there's a lot of takeover that happens, and everything is sort of pushed out of the window, and people are also displaced and misplaced. There was a campaign of, I think, don't mute go-go in DC, and the city came out hardcore too, because that's a part of our influence. That's a part of our culture. That's a part of our roots as well. Percussion heavy, percussion driven. And it's also a situation of community, that they've also banned for so many different reasons, in parks, in theaters, and nightclubs. Sometimes it pertains to violence, but there's a lot of unity with go-go music. And that's our staple, that's our stamp. And so there's a lot of gentrification, not just community-wise or architecture-wise, but there's also dictatorship that wants everything out, for whatever reason, hateration, or just domination and control. But you see that all over the world. It's not fair, but we fight, we march, and you can't kill the the vibe of a people, and the gel and the thread of a people, and the glue, that held it together, but also are part of the ancestry that very same capital of this country was built on the backs of.
Very well said. The one and only Maya joins us here in the program. Listen, we got to move. We've got a movie we got to talk about, but we're having such a great conversation, and we're going to talk about the movie My Favorite Christmas Melody, starring Maya, Sunday 8 p.m. 7 Central on Lifetime. One last thought. I thought about the conversation that we're going to have today, and I thought about not only go-go and hip hop, but the R&B scene in particular, especially around the time that you came out. There was Tank, there was Genuine. Raheem Devon came on, shortly thereafter. Kenny Lattimore preceded you guys. Johnny Gill, Stacey Lattisaw preceded them. Then you go all the way back there. There's, I know others that I'm forgetting. Marvin Gaye, certainly probably the king. And then you even look at now, Ari Lennox. So can you speak to being part of that deep R&B scene in Washington?
It's such a beautiful thing. And DC is, of course, never looked at as New York, LA, or Atlanta, a heavy music town. But we've always had amazing talent, musicianship coming out of this place. and all of us have basically tuned into go-go music. That's part of the culture, which is also swing, which is also jazz, which is also soul, which is also R&B with African roots. Once again, we talked about the percussion earlier. Um, what I would like to see is all these artists, us, come together and create something, an alliance for our city. There's nothing like when you see people come together and also get back to the community together. We are powerful in numbers, because we are successful, of course, but I see things happening in Houston, Texas. I see things happening in Memphis, Tennessee, and Atlanta, of course, where there are squads or alliances at least, and all the amazing days that happen, the holidays that are created for the community to come out, the drives that are happening. I see that for our city because there's so much talent, there's so much influence, there's so much power in that as well. And there's a synergy, Of course, entertainment is a factor because that's what we do, but there's another side to that. So that's what I'm really, really looking forward to for our city, because we have yet to accomplish that together.
Very well said. So let's talk. I want to talk about. Let's talk about. We got to talk about my favorite Christmas melody. You play the role of Abby. Speak to this. Yes. So tell us, how did this come about? I mean, you're no stranger to acting, right? But how did this, how sort of did this role come about for you?
Well, this role came about for me through management, of course, and my agent. And I took a look at the script. I related to the script, of course. The role is of Abby Walker, who is a struggling musician. She's kind of lost her sauce and her spark because of a devastation that she's experienced with a song of hers that she wrote. She's a songwriter, by the way, composed, being stolen. And hey, millions are being made by somebody else. So that's very, very relatable, being in the music industry for almost 25 years. Things like that happen all of the time. But there's something special about this film because, hey, it takes place during the holidays, but we often seek elsewhere to try to find a slice of happiness when all the while, sometimes you just have to go back home to find that, your roots, your stomping grounds, your essence, and that spark. And that's what you see her journey convey.
Oh, absolutely, no question about that. So, when was the last time you had done something in terms of film? Had it been a while for you?
No, Fifth Ward season 2 aired, I believe, in 2019. We filmed that one in 2018, and season 1 was filmed in 2017. So that was the most recent TV series, but that was on UMC Urban Movie Channel.
Yeah, sure.
And, I shot that actually in Fifth Ward of Houston, Texas. And I was also a singer in choir, but a mother, which was a role that was never played by myself before. So that was different for me. I had to channel being a big sister for that particular role and an aunt. But that was really, really nice. Completely different than this particular film. It was not a holiday film. It took place in the hood and a lot of judgment. But back to Christmas, my favorite Christmas melody. It comes out December 5th. It's something for the whole family. Yeah. It's somewhat of a musical, by the way. I'm singing. You get to hear another side of my voice, very theatrical. I love Broadway. And I've never put out any Christmas songs in my career as Maya. So I'm singing some Christmas songs, original compositions, by the way, by the character Abby Walker, and writing these awful jingles that you also hear me sing, which is, what my daytime job is, that is making me miserable. So the struggle is real for Abby, and you get to see her journey, from losing her interest, her passion, her spark, to regaining it, and also possibility of love, letting that in too. Surprises.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be looking forward to that. So will this, to your point, will this inspire you now maybe to do a Christmas album?
Well, I've always wanted to do a Christmas album, but I have completed just recently two other albums of mine. You know, I see the Christmas albums and the greatest hits album and the live album after these next two projects that I'm so in love with. And I can't wait to share with everyone. But yes, that is definitely on the horizon. I love jazz music. So as I get older, I'll play and experiment with that more too.
Couple of more thoughts with the one and only Maya, the film My Favorite Christmas Melody, Sunday, 8 p.m. That's 7 Central on Lifetime. You know, I think not only my favorite song by you, but one of my favorite songs, The Best of Me. Whether it's the remix with Jada, I think I like the one more with Jadakiss actually.
Oh,
But it's, I mean, what do you take us back to those days and sort of the beginnings for you in the music industry and what that was like for you?
yeah. I was fresh out of high school walking into the music industry. However, I had a career prior to my recording artist career, and I was teaching dance. I was a hoofer, improvisationalist as a tap dancer, danced with Gregory Hines, Savion Glover, Buster Brown, Sam and Sims, Jimmy Slide, the Nicholas Brothers. And that was very uncommon for a girl back then. I became a dance instructor at 14 and started improvising at 13 across stages and started working. But prior to that, I was in orchestra, I was in gospel choir, I was always doing talent shows, recitals, dance programs, all kinds of stuff. And I was a child of the arts. Walking into the industry, there were a lot of things that you just have to learn by stepping right into it. I didn't have any media training. Interviews were very awkward for me. And I was a shy girl, but being on stage was my comfort zone. So I've come out of my shell, of course. That's just evolving into adulthood and into your own self. But I would say it's always a challenge growing up in front of the public eye because every move you make and everybody's looking is under a microscope. So there's a little bit of pressure, but I've always been grounded. I've always loved music as my core and then kept family as a priority. So that's kept me at my own pace, a slow pace that's functional and healthy. And I have so much more to look forward to and greatness, you know, reaching my full potential. And I haven't even given that part of myself yet, but you guys will get it next. And I'm so proud of what I've been able to accomplish within these last few years. With these next two projects coming, I can say that it's unlike anything I've ever done before, and it's special. So I'm proud of myself because it's not easy.
Yeah.
And it's independent too,
Yeah.
funding this for years, and I see the growth, I hear it, but it means so much, as far as what I'm putting into the universe, and that's what it's all about. So I can't wait to share that.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to what, it's interesting. You say that. What made you decide to go the independent route? Was it more because of, you have more independence, if you will, more say, the music industry, especially with labels and so forth, can be very rigid and restrictive.
Mhm.
So were those some of the reasons that you decided to go more independent the last, maybe 10 years or more or so?
It's been 13 or so now, 14 years, 2007, at the end of 2007. And it was circumstantial. I actually didn't make the decision to leave any labels, but a project actually accidentally got leaked. And then it released everywhere online at the time. Um, I decided not to do a court battle and sue the label for the negligence, but go independent, whatever that meant. And quickly, shortly after, the artist Prince reached out to me and invited me to open up for him at the O2 in London for 2 nights. And I had a long conversation with him, a conversation of wisdom. And he said, I will help you if you stay independent. That has always stayed in the back of my mind.
Wow.
that
Yes.
that wisdom has kept me independent, though it's not easy.
Yeah.
But I immediately got an offer to executive produced my own project in Japan, where the album initially was released by accident. It's the furthest territory in the world, and a day ahead, pretty much. So they received it first and they loved it, where a label based there decided to give me, a specific type of budget just to produce the album, executive produce it. But stepping into that independent realm, just in that one territory, it was limited to just that one territory. I learned how to executive produce. I improved my engineering skills. I recorded it in my studio in DC. I put together my team of songwriters, producers, musicians, mixing engineers, and it was very addictive because I had all of this creative freedom and I hadn't stopped since then. In between tours and albums and EPs and mixtapes, it got fun, and it was on my time and I could release it anytime I want. So there's been 9 independent projects with the 10th and 11th on the way, but 14 overall projects in my career. So that's how it happened. But it's taught me a lot. I've worn many hats because of being independent, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But the best is yet to come because it's all been rehearsal. It's all been rehearsal. And now I understand what Prince meant as far as your freedom, your creative freedom, preserving your mental, your spiritual, your physical health. There's other ways to do this. And I figured out a way. And it's still fun to me. I'm not trying to throw in the towel. It's still fun. And that means it means everything, because this business can exhaust you like any other business. But there's a love here and there's still excitement.
Wow. Very well said. That is awesome. So last thought, can you give us a little bit more about these projects that you have that are forthcoming?
I can say one.
Okay.
I recorded the very first song for one of them in 2013.
Wow.
Yes. And I guess now it's been a total of 7 to 8 years, step by step, because of it's much more expensive than any project I've ever done because it's quality. But it's special. That's all I can say. And then the other one, is homage to my living room and how I grew up. All that musical influence on vinyl that my parents listened to, the R&B, the soul, the funk. I love Rick James. I love Shalimar. I love Peaches and Herb. I love Tina Marie. It ranges from all of that to 90s R&B. So it's my living room, basically, on the other project.
Wow. You know what? Like I'm into vinyl heavy. Like, and I'm talking about now, and I'm not talking about any of the reissues. I'm talking about originals. I couldn't find anything. I was like, look, for this interview, like I was looking, and I've been looking, I couldn't find anything by you, Mike. I couldn't find anything. I was looking for that very first album. And we're in Raleigh, North Carolina. There are, I don't know, 5, 6 record stores just within the city limits of Raleigh. And I just couldn't, but I think that was at a time when CDs had really taken over, especially in the beginning. And, we weren't into vinyl as much. I guess, do you still have your own vinyl records of the projects that you've done?
I do, actually. I have the Mood Ring on vinyl. I have some of the Japan projects on vinyl. I also manufacture my own vinyl, through a pressing company, of course, and we sell it all on tour. And my website, mayamaya.com, right inside of the shop. I do cardboard CDs. I do jewel case. The cardboard is so much better for the road because the jewel case is cracked. But people really, really want that memorabilia, those physical copies. And I take it to every booking that I do, whether it's a club, a theater, an amphitheater, stadium, arena, whatever type of tour it is, I'm selling, and I own the masters.
And there you go. That's the thing. And you own the masters. Well, we couldn't get it. We couldn't get the record for this interview, but I'm still going to. I may have to go to your website. So you have originals. See, that's what we're into. Like all that, we got stuff. I mean, we got. I couldn't even tell you. We've got like from every genre of music, and
nice.
I got to get something from you. Maybe the best of me May have to get the Best of Me
But see,
remix.
I can't sell that stuff because I don't own the masters
That's
to
right.
old
That's right.
catalog.
That's right.
I
That's
only
right.
own all of my independent journey stuff from 2007 to now. But I still have collector's items from that era on vinyl too, and CD and cassette.
Wow. You telling you, you're doing it. Yeah, so I'm gonna make that my mission. And then I'm gonna take a photo of, I'm gonna send it because we gotta get this. Like we've got anything. I mean, and especially like even the Go-Go, we've got the Soul Searchers first album from 1972
Wow.
to everything. I mean, we got a bunch of stuff, but we got to get some Maya stuff. So check her out. My Favorite Christmas Melody this Sunday, 8 p.m. That is 7 Central Time. The one and only Maya is one of the stars of the film. She joins us here on Box to Row with the Radio Boss. Maya, really appreciate the time. Continued success in all you do.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Nice reconnecting with you. And of course, happy holidays.
Absolutely.